Welcome. Thank you to the Town of Fort Mills Council regular meeting, which actually this is our last scheduled meeting for a year that completely defies description. This evening, we will begin with call to order, Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Huntley will give our invocation. But first, I would like to say this particular year, 2020, has given us all pause to think and look at a situation that I don't think any of us could have envisioned in our worst nightmares. Over 300,000 Americans have died to date from COVID-19, including people from our own community. I am proud of the Town of Fort Mills staff, employees, for their relentless efforts to continue our services without exception and without interruption. Thank you so much. It's been an outstanding effort, and I'm very, very, very proud, pleased, and grateful to the staff. We are in continuous communication with York County Emergency Management, South Carolina Emergency Management, and the Governor's Office. After we do our call to order, Pledge of Allegiance, and invocation, I will cover briefly a couple of bullets from a communication that came in today from the Governor's Office on distribution of the new vaccine. So with that, if everyone would like to join, we will stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Huntley, I'll turn to you for our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All righty then.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, as we gather here today representing our town, we pray that you would grant us the wisdom to be fair and square with everyone. As we enter into the season where we're celebrating your gift of amazing grace, we give thanks for the gifts that we have received. We pray that we would operate in such a manner as that people can look at us and tell that we are a thankful group of people. These things we pray in thy holy name. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful prayer. Thanks. So, again, this is our last scheduled meeting of 2020. I read a really cute thing that said, I don't normally stay up for New Year's Eve, but I'm going to stay up this year to make sure this year goes away. So I think that's kind of how everyone's feeling. So just a quick overview, the South Carolina COVID-19 vaccine plan includes 3 phases of vaccine distribution and administration. We have received details of phase 1 distribution. It will be a vaccine allocation prioritized to subsets outlined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC. It will include staff and residents of nursing homes and long-term care facilities, as well as people serving in healthcare settings. Hospitals will receive vaccinations in the first weeks of phase 1A, followed by other enrolled and approved providers. Do not contact hospitals to be vaccinated. You will see continuous information provided on when and where the furthering of the distribution phases is provided, where you might fit within that order. 1B, phase 1B will cover essential workers, including first responders such as fire and police. There are some words that this is a very lengthy document for phase 1. We will be posting this on the town's website so that you might read it. I don't want to sit here and read the 3.5 pages to you, but I do want everyone to understand that since day one, we have sat in on all the conference calls, listened to the guidance and advice given to us through our emergency management divisions within the state, and have followed all protocol and procedures. Our staff wears masks. Our essential employees wear masks. We use hand sanitizer by the gallons, and we work to protect each other's health and safety as we are critical to continuing the operations of our community. We have voted on masks a couple of times, and albeit that I think I've heard a number of times that we tend to vote unilaterally, and that's why we don't ever argue. We don't argue because we respect one another, and we have definitely voted for different things in the past and managed to move forward with respecting how this process works. So I have gotten some emails in regards to both sides of that issue, and I would like to thank everyone for sharing their interest and concerns, but please note that we're a panel of 7 for a reason. That way we don't have one person dictating to the town and its citizens. We take 7 perspectives and do our best with our love for our community to make the decisions that are the best for everyone. Again, this will be posted on the town's website. With that, council members, I believe we have Mr. Moody joining us remotely.
Yes, that's correct.
Hey, I just can't see you on the screen, so I thought I'd go ahead and say hey. All right. Thanks.
I'm here also.
Who is this?
Jamie.
Ronnie? Jamie. Hey, Jamie. Good to meet you.
Also.
And Ronnie's here, so I've got 3 remote and 4 in person. Thank you all for taking the time to be at our meeting. Council members, you have received the minutes of the November 9th, 2020 meeting. Are there any changes, deletions, or modifications to those minutes?
I move for approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Those of you that are joining by video conference, Jamie, how do you vote?
Approve.
Thank you. Chris?
Approve.
Ronnie?
Approve.
And everyone here on the bench, if you vote to approve, please say yes. Yes. If you oppose, please say no. Okay, so unanimous approval of the minutes, and I just threw some new words in there at the end of the year. All right, public comment. Pursuant to Section 2-46 of the Code of Ordinances for the Town of Fort Mill, any citizen of the town may appear before council for the purpose of providing public comments on any municipal matter except personnel matters. Those who wish to speak must sign in outside of council chambers prior to the start of the meeting. To maintain social distancing, citizens will only be allowed into council chambers one at a time to give their comments. Davey, do we have anyone signed in?
No, ma'am.
Okay, we do not have anyone signed in to provide any comments at tonight's meeting. There are also no presentations, so we will move promptly into old business items. Old business item number 1, second reading and public hearing for an ordinance adopting the 2040 comprehensive plan for the town of Fort Mill. We will open the public hearing at this point in time. All right, and we have no one signed in to make comments, so we will close the public hearing at this point in time. Do I have a motion for the second reading?
Make a motion.
I make a motion to accept reading.
Okay, I'll take the motion from Lisa and a second from Jamie, okay? Right, Chris, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Which Chris?
What would you, Chris Pettit?
Okay.
Sorry, Chris Pettit, would you like to tell us anything? Has anything changed from the first reading?
No, ma'am. Basically, what this agenda item is tonight is it's an update of our baseline for future conversations about what Fort Mill will be in the future. The plan makes 3 major improvements over our current comprehensive plan. 1, there's enhanced language relating to management of transportation network. Second item is enhanced language about trails, things such as the Carolina Thread Trail, which are becoming increasingly popular, particularly in our area. And number 3, the reduction in planned density in the outlying areas of town. Staff will acknowledge that we have a lot of new data coming in or close to coming in, things such as census data. And as we mentioned at first reading, we commit to relooking at the plan within 90 days of obtaining that information bringing it back to council and discussing what that new information has as far as an implication to our planning efforts. That being said, this plan is a good improvement over our current plan, and staff recommends in favor of approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. For those that are listening in, not those necessarily that sit here at each meeting or participate in this, the comprehensive plan is actually a 10-year plan that was required by the state of South Carolina for us to set a framework and to identify those areas of growth that we could work towards to maximize the benefit or take away from the challenges. We are required to update it every 5 years, and then we update on that. So it's a 5-year rolling. So one's a 5-year, one's a 10-year. But it is a living document. So we are able to make changes as we receive data, such as the census data, or new information that might be provided to us. Is all of that correct, Chris Pettit?
Yes, Mayor. We've made improvements beyond what is minimally required of 5 and 10-year update.
So for clarity, what Chris just said is that we've made improvements that go beyond what's required of us. This is a living document, and I will say I think I've sat in on all of the planning sessions since the first one. It has gotten better, and our degree of understanding of it has gotten better. It's not a day-to-day plan. It's not a targeted plan. It is simply a framework that helps us look at area planning and how we look on the fringes of our community so that we can make better, larger decisions like transportation. You know, that's not a decision that happens tomorrow. That's a decision that happens several years from now. So thank you for your explanation. And does anyone have any questions for Chris?
Not as much a question, it's just a statement that it's pretty impressive when you look at the potential land uses that we have in the future. While we do try to plan that out as best as we can, that you see this really large green area right in the middle of it, and it just brings back the blessings that we have by the close family, Springs Close family, with the Greenway and the area that we have to preserve that. Even in the Elizabeth neighborhood that's starting to happen, what you don't see from the roadway is a big green area that has been donated to the town that also will continue to provide us with some green spaces. Chris talked about the trailways, trying to promote that healthy lifestyle that so many of us enjoy in the Fort Mill community. So we are very blessed. While the growth is probably a lot quicker and a lot more than any of us really would like to see, there's some of it that's controllable, there's some of it that's not. We definitely have some green spaces that are going to be protected for forever, that we are blessed by. The other thing that is very obvious to me when I look at this is there's a dark orange area to this, and that's a residential high density area. And I think we are also blessed that that is pretty minimized when you look at the number of dark orange spaces on here. There's not that much. So while we can't always keep the growth from happening and keep the trees in place, we have minimized the biggest impact where possible, which is that high density growth. So I appreciate staff and what they've done for this. I appreciate the community involvement that helped build this over the years. It continues to grow. Again, living, breathing document. I'm curious to see what happens after we get the census information, because I think it's kind of like our budget. It's just a Band-Aid for right now until we're able to get that full data that really will help us to change and improve for the future. So thank you, staff, for pulling this together.
Good job. Good job. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, the motion on the table is to approve the second reading for the 2040 comprehensive plan for the town of Fort Mill. Ronnie, how do you vote?
Approve.
Jamie, how do you vote?
To approve.
Thank you. Chris Moody, how do you vote?
Approve.
And everyone here on the bench, if you vote to approve, please say aye. Aye. If you choose not to, nay. That's a unanimous vote to approve the document 2040 comprehensive plan for the town of Fort Mill. There are no new business items for this evening, and we're going to move into several information discussion items. The first is an information discussion item by none other than our financial wizard, Shante Bowler. Shante, thank you for giving us an overview of fiscal year 1920. Not the year 1920. There's a dash in there.
1920.
No, it isn't. Not 1920. It's 19 and 20, right? Our fiscal year.
Fiscal year
Yes.
2019.
Gotcha.
2020.
Gotcha. It was typed differently.
It's amazing how punctuation
Oh,
can.
boy, I was just thinking, hey, I've gone back in time.
All right, thank you so much.
You're not that old, Shante. You couldn't have done that.
No. Members of council, for this opportunity to come before you tonight, give you a visualization of where we stand, where we stood at the fiscal year in September 30. I want you to bear in mind, though, that these are unaudited numbers.
Got it.
But we were in a favorable situation all the way around with our three operational funds. When COVID emerged and the effects were happening from that, we were taking closer looks and monitoring our expenditures as well as our revenues that were coming in throughout the year. And so with that, and with the support of our department heads who were making those decisions, not to say that we were doing anything to the detriment of our operations, but our department heads were sensitive to what was going on around us and definitely made purchases as they needed to. So I want to start with our general fund. It is one of our major operating funds. One of the main revenue sources for this fund is property taxes. And so this fund fared very well as the actual revenues outpaced the actual expenditures by $5.8 million. Our revenues came in at $23.7 million, and our expenditures were at $17.9 million, which represented 76% of the revenues collected. In our gross revenue fund, which is a enterprise fund, meaning that its primary revenue is derived from user fees, in this case, our utility bills, our water and sewer bills, this fund collected $12.9 million in revenues, and the expenditures were $10.7 million, which was about 83% of revenues collected, and our actual surplus there was $2.2 million. The Stormwater Fund is another enterprise fund, and it was established for our stormwater activity. This fund also operates mainly from user fees, that being the stormwater fee that is attached to your annual property tax bill, and it's collected for us at the same time that the property taxes are. The actual revenues here were $863,000, and the expenditures were $829,000, which represented 96% of the revenues collected, with the surplus here being $34,000. Again, the key to all of this was the revenues, but yet on the flip side, the expenditures being monitored and purchases being made on a conservative basis there. With regards to our special revenues are those revenues that are intended for restricted use. With that, the local hospitality tax revenues were about $31,000 more than what we budgeted. We budgeted $850,000. We collected $881,000. And the hospitality tax is associated with those businesses who prepare food. It is a 2% tax on prepared foods. It's a 3%. Accommodations tax. We have our local accommodations tax, and we have accommodations tax from the state level. The accommodations tax is associated more so with hotels. So we get a percentage we collect through local ordinance, a percentage from the various hotels in Fort Mill city limits. And we budgeted about $350,000, and we did not make budget in that area. We collected $169,000 there, which was a little less than 3%. The state level accommodations tax came in, we budgeted $210,000, and we collected $177,000. Those are monies that come directly from the state to us. So that was about 85% of our revenue, of our budget. And then we have the impact fees, our municipal services impact fees. We budgeted $232,000. We collected $271,000. Fire protection impact fees, we budgeted $112,000, and we collected $157,000. And for recreation impact fees, we budgeted $705,000. We did not make that budget at all. We collected $569,000, which was about 81% of the budget. And so with all that has gone on, I think we ended up pretty well. I think we may see some more impact of COVID as we go into this year that we're operating in now. As it related to the property taxes, of course, we had pretty much collected the majority of those before COVID started having its effects. And some of the additional pieces of revenue there that were helpful to us had to do with our privilege licenses, our building permits. And so there may, again, be a dip in some of that in the FY 2020.2021. So just wanted to just sort of put that caveat out there. And I also wanted to let you know that we did apply and receive from the South Carolina CARES Act, that is federal funding that is administered by the state for funding of COVID-related expenditures. So with phase one, we did receive $17,000. We have also applied for phase two in the amount of $36,000. So we are waiting on that decision. So this ends my general overview, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I think it's important to point out for those listening that our fiscal year runs October to October. So as
October 1 to September 30.
Got it. It's not a January to January budget. Therefore, you know, we did have fairly normal January, February without COVID, and started rolling into COVID. And I think we took some extreme measures to cinch up the belt and not spend anything. We did not offer raises this year, even though I'm sure our employees deserve them because they continued to serve. But we all cinched the belt and did exactly what I think our community would want us to do to prepare for a longer term situation that we haven't faced before. And I'm very proud of where we are financially, exceedingly proud. We will revisit that budget in March and see how things are going. I would have hoped we would have been out of this by March, but I have no crystal ball. So thank you, Shantae, for all that you do to keep us in the know. Anyone have any questions of Shantae before we move forward?
Of course, you know I do.
I was going to say. About a dumb phone.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
I'm teasing. I'm only teasing.
Not sorry. So Shantae, I understand 100% what you're talking about with general fund. and why those numbers are kind of equal to budget because of the pandemic hadn't really hit when property taxes. Gross revenue, though, there's a significant difference between what we budgeted from 35 million to what we actually received of 13 million.
Yes, ma'am. If you will note that some of the revenue source for the gross revenue fund is really coming from our savings, fund balance appropriation, and bond proceeds that we got last year.
Okay, gotcha. Awesome. And then just kind of note, I think it's interesting how when you get to the special funds, as you call it, I like special stuff. The hospitality tax, I'm thrilled that it is as high as it is because that means our restaurants in the area have been thriving through this. Maybe thriving from it, but have been
They're surviving.
And that some of this is, going positively for them, could be much worse for sure. Not surprised at all by the accommodations side of it, to see such a drastic drop. You can see it. Number one, we've got a few more hotels in the area too. So then you've got less people staying at hotels. So that's no surprise. Interesting, the 3 impact fees that the municipal and fire, both had above budget, but recreation was below. Recreation's the housing piece of it. So did we have less homes than what we were initially forecasting, do you think? Or
We tend to lean on the development department to help us with those estimates, and they give it their best shot. And I am not sure of the methodology that was used.
I can speak to that a little bit.
Thank you,
Chris.
Chris.
For most of what we do with estimating impact fees, we estimate based off residential new construction. So we estimate all of the 3 fees basically based off residential. We were not correct on the residential numbers probably because of COVID. The commercial projects that we get in, it's harder for us to forecast what's going to come in and what's not going to come in commercially. Projects come up as a surprise and such throughout the year. So that's why, we had a couple of commercial projects come in that boosted up the fire and municipal facilities. And that's why the Parks and Rec sort of lagged behind because it was impacted and didn't get the benefit of some of those extra commercial projects to boost it up.
Perfect. And I think a lot of us will agree that's not a bad thing. We like having the commercial coming in and a little bit less residential. So good. Sounds great. Thank you. I appreciate the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. That one little sheet up there, it's just to get, I'm a visual kind of person, it's just to give y'all a visual snapshot of the revenues compared to the expenditures in our 3 operating funds.
I think that's extremely important for those that are joining us online, to have the visual as well.
I agree.
So I appreciate that point of it. Ms. Trudy, did you have a question?
I was just gonna ask if you would explain just a little bit about the CARES and the money that came in and the 2 separate issues.
The 2 phases.
The 2 phases.
All of that is driven by legislation, whether it's at the federal level or at the state level. We just responded to it. The opportunity was given to us they would send us. We had lots and lots of webinars that we had to sit through, but they would give us direction through the state agency that was contracted to follow through with the process for receiving these funds. And so basically the $17,000 came from expenditures that were related to
PPE, protective equipment, and
not the PPE side, but the cleanup and to mitigate, not the PPP side. That's on the you have an application
Get that involved.
to give a high level, CARES was established to assist any municipality that could prove they had financial needs to address COVID and the types of processes that we were asked to put into place.
Okay.
So as we were not in charge of deciding how to handle many areas, because we're not the experts in that area, we were allowed, as all other municipalities, to apply for funds to help offset that cost, as opposed to taking it out of revenues that we already had plans for.
We had to spend the money, and then we through providing them documentation. And so that's what we were able to do, but they gave us strict rules, strict guidance that we had.
Thank you, Shantae. Any further questions for Shantae? Hearing none, Shantae, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Information discussion item number 2, discussion of potential updates to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 4, Animals. Davey Broom.
Yes, Mayor. I just wanted to put this on the agenda for tonight based on last month's request from a resident to find a solution for a pet that is affected by our current ordinances. And so staff is here reaching out to council if there's any direction you would like to have staff look into to find a solution for this situation.
Yes, I would like to make a proposal for this particular issue based on lots of research. I think the nice lady that has the animal in question did a lot of research on her part. We also reached out to other municipalities. We looked at DHEC records. We looked at the wording. Unfortunately, as documents are living documents, they may go for many years, and terminology or your interpretation of terminology may change with time. In doing this, we wouldn't have known to reach out and make a change to it if the issue had not come before us. So therefore, I'm making I'm going to throw something out there. I think it would work because the terminology in the current ordinance infers or says clearly hog. And a hog is a different animal than the animal that this lady has in her home. The hog weighs over 120 pounds. There are many other definitions that refer to that term, hog. So in truth, as it is written, she has a right to have the pot-bellied pig that she has at this time. However, to honor the intent of the ordinances to protect the town from a menagerie of species that might not be appropriate or follow all health guidelines, I would like to ask that if it pleases council, and if everyone, you may have other ideas of your own, but I think that we need to change the ordinance to say swine. Therefore, moving forward, it will cover all of that particular species. There won't be a weight limit, because we certainly can't go out and weigh people's pets to determine if they meet the needs of the ordinance or not. But we allow her to keep her pet through its life, but not replace it, because the ordinance would be changed to ensure that we are consistent moving forward. So my proposal in simple terms is change the ordinance language from hog to swine, and allow Ruby to stay in her home until her death. And I think that way it's a fair proposal for all parties. Council, I will entertain any of your thoughts or suggestions that you may have.
I would agree with the stance that the opportunity to make an improvement to the ordinance, but still somewhat protect somebody who bought a home, who's living here, according to the ordinances that were in place at the time that she got Ruby. So I support that and feel like that is a good compromise to moving forward through this and protecting all that are involved.
Anybody have any other suggestion or recommendation before we put this before a vote?
Mayor, this is Chris Moody. I agree with what you and Council Member Cook were just discussing. I think that it would be proper for us to move forward in the direction in which you suggested. I would hate for anyone to lose a pet right here before Christmas.
Never.
So,
Yeah, I
that's,
agree. I agree. Thank you, Chris. Larry, I believe you started to say something.
Yeah, thinking about the pot-bellied pig.
Mm-hmm.
I would think if somebody moved in 2024 and had a pot-bellied pig as their pet, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not rooting in the yard. They keep them inside. And to me, they're the same category as a dog or a cat. Pot-bellied pig.
Well, scientifically, they're not in the same category.
Well,
Not at all.
practical stuff.
Not at all. And we wouldn't be here if there hadn't been a complaint filed from a neighbor. So we also have complaints in regards to chickens, to roosters, and to certain dogs. You know, we do. But there has to be a limit, and there has to be a law to protect everyone. And you know what? It's going to be subjective to a degree. There's where do you draw the line? If it's pot-bellied pigs, Larry, it could be Shetland ponies next. There's just all sorts of varieties of animals, and I don't question anybody wanting to have one. But I know if you came after the little dog I have at home and said I couldn't have it, there'd be a for sale sign in the front yard, and I would move because I would rather move than give up my beloved pet. So I think what I'm suggesting is that we preserve the town's ability as best we can to manage by changing that to swine and leave the remainder of the ordinance in place. You don't have to support the recommendation. If you have another one, you feel free to put it on the table.
Well, we'll keep a Shetland pony inside.
I don't know that everyone that has a pot-bellied pig keeps them inside either.
Well, that could be a part of a resolution.
We would have no way of enforcing or going to see that. There are pot-bellied pigs up in Blowing Rock and Boone, where we go and stay sometimes, and they're outside. They're outside. So I'm not going to second guess that. I don't want to take basically I don't want to take the lady's pet away. And the way the ordinance is written is unfair, to her. But I am proposing that we change the ordinance. And if you so feel that we shouldn't, your vote will indicate such.
Mayor, this is Mayor.
Yes.
This is Barry. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. This is an information and discussion item. It is not right for a vote tonight. If
okay.
you want to give staff some direction to come back to you with an amendment to the ordinance, then that's appropriate, but I don't think you need to vote on it.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate it. Davey, if you would. I've given a recommendation. If anyone else has one, fine. But I would like at our first meeting in 2021 for us to have a vote so that we can put this lady's mind at ease.
Some more together, present it to council for that first meeting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any further conversation?
I was just going to say, I know you spent time. I appreciate the time thought that you put into
Thank you, Trudy.
your comments.
Well, I would not want to harm anyone, if at all possible, but we do have a time to do it.
When I saw on the internet the other day, a lady who was keeping a cow in her house, that she started it when it was a baby, and she just continues to let the cow come in and out of her house on a regular basis. I think, to your point, Mayor, we have to try to make ordinance for the masses that are here. I think this is one of those that it will continue. There are so many things that people make as pets we never would have thought were pets. I can't see having a snake in my house as a pet, but it grows. So I think it'll continue to be updated throughout the years. New things will come for us, and we have to make the best decision for all.
Thank you. And thank you, council, for your patience as we continue to work through something that is fair for all.
I would like to compliment that lady. When she made a presentation, as far as I'm concerned, she did everything else right. She didn't belittle us. But, I just thought, I was very impressed with her.
All righty then. Information discussion item number 3, capital projects update. Davey, you got some good stuff for us?
Yes, ma'am. I hope I have some good information for you. Thank you, and I will begin with our largest project that's actually underway at this time, the Walkway Park upgrades. I will say, before I get into all of my updates, this is an exciting time for the town of Fort Mill as it relates to capital projects. Projects, and we're in various stages of each one. So the first one I'm going to move to, Mayor, I'll provide information on this project, and then I'll, before I move to the next project, I'll
take questions.
Take any questions council may have.
Thank you.
Again, for this project, it's a upgrade for the entire property that we've designated as we're building a couple of restrooms, one for the Walkway Park, one for the Calhoun soccer field. We're adding some bench swings around the park. That's going to upgrade give some resting locations and relaxation areas throughout the park. But the entire project itself is highlighted by the construction of the amphitheater, which we are eagerly anticipating opening up just as soon as COVID is over. So we think the timing will work it out just right. So when COVID eases off, we can put this amphitheater to good use and have some very good outdoor performances there. I will say there's been some several challenges for the actual amphitheater site itself. The construction company ran into some unknown water lines and sewer lines that were not on any of the maps that the town owned at the time. So construction on the amphitheater itself has been slowed, but it is still moving forward. The amphitheater, again, we've got all of what the projects have been completed that have affected the amphitheater. Our stormwater lines, all of those have been installed. All of our sanitary sewer lines have been installed. We have relocated an 8-inch water main that went right through the footprint of the amphitheater, so it is up and operational. And so we see good things happening for that site. I provided you just a brief update on the site in my staff report, and I'd like to go into a little more detail on one of them. As we were moving through this project, and because of the debris that had been found on that site and the footprint, the original geotech study from our engineering firm suggested that the 15-foot piles, and a pile is basically the footings for the amphitheater, they were projected to be at a 15-foot depth, and that would support the amphitheater. But after running into some of these issues, they restudied the site and found that there were some locations that required, or they felt like required, a 30-foot piles. So you'll have that's having to stop the construction on that site to restudy the footprint, and then come back to recommendations, and then go through do the change orders through the contractor, has slowed that portion of the project by several weeks. But we are again moving through that and anticipate getting back on that portion very quickly. We're very excited because this is the last piece of the puzzle that has to deal with the underground issues. Once we get the piles in, then we can start getting above ground, and then things tend to move much quicker than it does below ground. So we anticipate the overall project for the amphitheater is still scheduled to be completed July, August time frame of next summer, 2021, and that's barring any additional challenges that may arise, but that's our projections at this time. I will say during this project, there's been other portions of the upgrades that have been going well on time and been working, been coming along pretty well. Again, the 2 restrooms that were provided or they're working on right now are nearing their completion. I've got some photos of those here. Basically, we're down to we're working on the inside and then adding a couple of dormers to the roofing, roof line of the project. So they are coming along quite well. The anticipated completion time is early 2021. We're very excited about that. Once we get those completed and do the final inspections on them, we will again open those up to the public. So they'll be open prior to the amphitheater being constructed. So we're very happy about that. Another good news is parking lot A, which is the parking lot that was installed along Looms Way, has been completed. Staff has did the final inspection along with the contractor and our engineer, and everything has passed. So we are in the process of signing the certificate of completion. That should be completed this week, and then we will be able to open that parking lot up for all of the public. In saying that, we still need to add some work to the parking lot to the Calhoun soccer field. We're getting quotes right now to have that asphalt replaced there, and we'll be moving forward with that very soon as well. So it will not be too far down the road. We'll have 2 parking lots available to the public, and we're also in the process. I think if anyone's been by in the last couple of days, been by the park, seen some fencing along Ardrey Street. That's the next phase of parking that they will be working on. So as I was providing the write-up, we are still working with the timeline on that. The contractor wants to do some of the work on the park side, but we'll have a need to close a portion of Ardrey Street for a time period as the heavy equipment needs to work from the roadway into the park. Fort Mill will provide, we've worked with our police department, we will provide traffic updates and get that out on our website and all our social media accounts, as well as do a press release on that, so that the public knows well in advance when the road will be closed down. And then last, but certainly not least, is the installation of the bench swings. They are scheduled to be started this week. Now, that's barring any more weather, but good news is they'll be starting very soon and should not take that long to complete. So we anticipate them being up and ready early first quarter of 2021. So that is the timeline that I have provided so far. So I will be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Tell me again where parking lot A is.
Parking lot A is at the intersection of Looms Way and Calhoun Street.
It's up at the top of the park.
So technically, we'll have 3 upper parking places, given the grass field area that is already being used.
That's correct.
Then we'll have this parking lot A. At Calhoun, can I request or ask us to look at the way the traffic flow comes in there, maybe doing diagonal parking instead of straight-on parking? Because it's a one-way traffic flow anyway. And that way, maybe it'll help with it, because it gets really congested if you get somebody going the wrong way. And if we're at the diagonal, that kind of makes it a no-brainer to try to help alleviate some of that. It's just not wide enough at the ends for traffic to go both ways anyway. So, yeah, maybe it's an option to make it easier.
That's a very good point, and we will definitely look into that.
Thank you. And then on the swings, will they have concrete all the way at the base of it to prevent mud from piling up, or is it going to be grassy underneath all the swings? It seemed like you were marking it out for a concrete pad.
That's correct. It'll have a concrete pad and a concrete walkway from the current walkway to the pad. So it'll probably have about 10 feet of a walkway that's made of concrete to a concrete pad.
Okay, perfect.
It will help with the cleanliness.
Cleanliness and accessibility, people with strollers or other wheeled apparatus. Awesome, thank you. I'm excited. You know, I'm there anyway. I'm there all the time, so I'm ready for it.
Well, the only comment I had was I am thrilled with the design and the construction of the restrooms. For those of us that have lived here forever, the careful selection of that design to mimic what was previously there with the mill was so successful. They look like they fit there. I love where they're located because they're not standing out in the middle of where we would be. They're nestled. I'm just really, really happy with the product that's coming along there. So I can't wait to see the amphitheater and see how it fits. This particular park has just been not just a gift from the Close family, but a gift inside town. Everyone uses it, everyone. So the upgrades that we're making to it, the ability to have a restroom break, to have a swing so parents and grandparents that are watching their kids can sit and pleasantly look it over. I'm thrilled. I think this is just really, really good steps that the town is taking towards providing for all ages and for everyone. It's our central park, and I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
On the new upper parking lot on Loom, where the old sidewalk just stops, do we have plans to maybe turn that on a 90 to connect it onto the walking trail, or to push it down the rest of the way to meet the sidewalk where it comes up on the other corner?
That's a very good idea and a good point. Right now, sidewalk does end. It has an ADA ramp at the very end of it, but there's no immediate plans to tie that into any other sidewalks, but it is there for any future projects we would like to extend. So there was really nowhere, it was a sidewalk to nowhere, but it's willing to be extended to another portion of the park. So I think that would be a good thing to look at when we look at our next phase of upgrades to Walker Wildlife Park.
Yeah, I think if we just turn a 90 to bring it down onto the walking trail and do a circle like we did where the ADA access one is, get it, just finish it there so it isn't a sidewalk to nowhere.
I will have our engineering firm look into that and see if we can make that happen.
Good thoughts, Council. Good
You
thoughts.
bring up a good point that this is phase one, that there's future
Other things
improvements that we want to make here. It's just a budgetary issue. So there's
Correct.
definitely opportunities for more.
Wonderful. Great progress. Thank you.
All right. The next project I'd like to give an update on is Banks Athletic Park. And for me and staff, this is a very exciting project. This is a project that we will be providing 4 ball fields for the town of Fort Mill, and 2 ball fields that will have the regulation length for Little League and softball, and then 2 fields that meet the regulation of adult softball along with baseball. So staff has put in a lot of time and effort to work with our engineering firm and architect to look at this site at all angles, so that we can put forth and bring forth the best plan for this park. I have provided you some information that we just recently received from our engineer firm and our architect on the entire site. I'm eager to have a discussion with each of you to, after you view this, please provide me with any feedback you may have for this park. Again, it will have 4 fields, a scoring tower. It'll have 2 parking lots, a playground area with a basketball court, a playground area for smaller children, and also an outdoor, I don't want to use the term amphitheater, but a shelter that you can use. It's a larger shelter. I think it's 30 feet by 60 feet. So we're very excited with that. And on that site, we'll also have we'll have 1 restroom facility and then a restroom facility within the scoring tower. And then we'll have a town-used facility for our Parks and Recreation Athletic Department to utilize for their supplies and equipment to maintain the park. So again, we're very excited to get this underway. Now that the civil plans are drawing to an end, once I get your feedback, we will work through that. Any feedback that we receive very quickly, then we will be ready to move this project into the advertisement phase to accept bids, so that we can get the project underway, get the construction underway, that is, in the early second quarter of 2021. In my anticipation is the beginning of second quarter of 2021. So we're trying to move through this as quickly as possible. It is, again, we understand the time constraints that we're under with ball fields that we have at the Ymca at the complex. The Roy Springs and Company has been very gracious to extend our contract for those ball fields, and we're very appreciative to them for partnering with us and continuing to work with us as we work through this project. And so we're very appreciative of them for that. We do expect this project, once it begins, to take anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Again, we hope for the 12-month time frame. This site should not provide the same issues that we experienced with our Walkway Wildlife Park site. But again, we may be dealing with some inclement weather at times. So we're in hopes that we can get it done within a 12-month period. And with that, I'll take any questions or help answer any questions you may have.
Just one addition from me. I think it's important to note that this particular tract of land was donated to us as a part of a development agreement. And as we talked earlier about our comprehensive plan and our efforts to do a better and better job with managing, that's one of the efforts that we've been fairly consistent over the last several years, is to look for concessions as we also cut back on density. And having land provided to us for this ballpark that was needed because the others are going away, I think that's an incredible step forward as we move towards ensuring that we're doing our best. So I'm grateful that it's a donated lot, and from the sketches I've seen, it's going to be quite a nice asset for the town.
I appreciate staff working with us along the way with the recommendations and opportunities to make this more than just a baseball, softball field. Yeah, we've turned it into an outdoor area, adding the basketball courts, playground, picnic shelter area. So I look forward to it serving more than just one specific group. I hope by ultimately netting out one additional field, maybe we can add on some additional opportunities or programs, maybe an adult kickball league or something else, by having an additional field, although I know it's a hot commodity for many of the teams that we have. But the other comment, I know 12 months is kind of your desire, but these are grass fields, and grass only grows at God's rate of speed. So we may, well, 12 months maybe the sun needs to shine a lot to be able to have it. So let's make sure we get the grass growed in. But thank you so much. I'm excited about it.
Me too. Any further comments on the Bank Street Park that we're building?
The only thing I could think of is if we could find a different place for the utility / work shed to go. besides right there beside the new pavilion. I know we're real proud of our utility guys. We obviously have the utility shed for Dobie Bridge right there in the middle of the park, but I personally am not a fan of seeing how the sausage gets made. So if we can find somewhere to stash that, so it's right out of the main view and right out of the prime real estate, that'd be great.
We'll look into that.
Jamie, the response is that we will take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further concerns, comments? I'm excited. I think we're moving forward. Very nice. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The next project is the tennis courts at the YMCA. From council's recommendation or vote that we should stretch out the
Existing
courts into and more of a straight line rather than offset the way they were before. Met with the company that provided the quote, Court One quote they provided was for the courts and the surfaces, base, and fencing to go along with that. Lighting was not included, nor was any site improvements as far as bringing in additional dirt and landscaping. So with that, as you can see by this diagram, two of the courts will extend for some period into what is a wooded lot, which is town-owned property. There are some topographical challenges with that. Nothing major that we can see, but because of that, we had to contract with an engineering firm to do a site survey, provide us as much information on these sites as possible. We have since contracted with ESP Associates, and they are in the process of providing that for us. Once that is done and civil construction documents are completed, then we can move forward with doing the site work, prep work of the site, and then have Court One come in and build 4 courts and renovate 4 that are in the current locations. So site 1 is already, we're getting on their schedule to be worked, but as you can imagine, they can only have a certain number of months per year to actually construct tennis courts. So we do not think we can get on their spring timeline, but we can get on their summer timeline. So that's as we are anticipating now, installation of tennis courts beginning around the early 3rd quarter, July timeframe, and should be completed in a 3 or 4 month time period. We anticipate having this completed by early 4th quarter of 2021.
Questions?
Now, moving that over into the wooded areas, how much is that going to add to the cost, or are we just reallocating funds from a different portion?
Yes, we have funds allocated toward the construction of these tennis courts, and until we receive the site survey and the recommendation or the information from our engineering firm, I do not have the exact numbers for you, or more projected numbers. Once they do that, get that to me in the next week or two, I'll bring that back to council and make you aware. But I just don't have a good answer at this moment.
Can we pull some of the cost in by doing in-house clearing of the trees or something like that?
We can certainly look at all the options. If there's something that we can do in-house to save funds, we will we'll make sure we take on that, sure.
Any additional questions? It's sad that our construction has to be when it is, because those are the 3 months that tennis camps and children's camps are typically run. Okay, next.
Okay, so the next project that I just wanted to believe that was all. Oh yeah, I just want to give an update on the water tank. The project is at its completion. All that was remaining was the site itself. Again, we're dealing with inclement weather conditions over the last few months that has slowed the progress and completion of this project. Landscaping, fencing, asphalt of the roadway, the entrance, and the parking area for the water tank. So if we can go to the next slide. This is sitting inside the parking water tank. So you can see the fencing that's been installed, decorative fencing. And if you can look closely, the driveway has been asphalt as well. So we're down to just the last little bit of landscaping for the site, and we are very happy to have it completed. And then I did not provide any updates on the wastewater treatment plant. I'm saving that for our next meeting. Our utilities director, Greg Rushing, would like to bring forth more information, updates they have experienced over the last few months there. We have some aerial photos that we want to share as well. So okay. We will present that to you at your January meeting.
Great.
And Mayor, that concludes my update on our capital projects.
Great. It's been an odd year on a lot of fronts, but I am impressed that we continue to make progress on some of the areas that we were terribly excited about before the pandemic. So thank you very much. I appreciate the information and the good discussion and the good points pointed out by council. All right. With that, executive session, we do have one this evening. Please note that council may take action on executive session items listed on the agenda when they come back into public session. Our executive session this evening is in regards to negotiations incident to proposed contractual arrangements, land investment resources. With that, I need a motion and a second.
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
I'll second it.
Right, I have a motion from Lisa and a second by Trudy. All those in favor, online and in person, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. All righty. Thank you so much, and we will return. All right, Larry, would you like to make your motion?
We'll move back or return to regular session.
Second.
Mr. Huntley's made a motion to return to regular session, and Ms. Cook has seconded that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, thank you. Let the record reflect that no vote was taken in executive session. There are no further items on our agenda. Trudy, you had an issue, so we'll start with you on any closing comments for not only this session, but for 2020. Oh, I need to let Davey do something before it's our last meeting for 2020. Would you like to do that now, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to take a few moments to thank some special people that put in their time and effort and partnership into the Christmas events that the town has been so fortunate to put on in this 2020 year and COVID timeframe. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Jacana Hester, our events coordinator, for facing the challenges that we are all up against and finding events that we can continue to promote and do and add to the quality of life of citizens, visitors. I would also like to say thank you to Chris Sardelli, our public relations manager, who works with Jacana and puts out all of our communications on our events that we put out. And also double teams on some of the events when Jacana is absent. Need to say a very special thank you as well to Tony McMahon. Tony, you never see his face. He's always behind the camera, filming and he's our media production technician. some of the events that we put on there, that was, it's been very special. It was our virtual tree lighting event. I want to say thank you to our Public Works Department for all of the decorations in our downtown area. They're very beautiful. And it's relaxing to drive through Fort Mill for the young and the young at heart in the evenings through the first week of January, and just enjoy and take in all of the Christmas decorations and spirit. Also thankful for their logistics when it comes to these events. They have to set up equipment and things to help get the production and the filming just right, and they did a tremendous job with that. I want to thank Town Council and their families that took part in the virtual tree lighting event. We couldn't put that on without you. Our first Advent Fort Mill Handbell Choir and Director Alan Baker for their portion of that tree lighting event. Thank you to Catawba Ridge High School Band Director Martin Dickey for their portion of it. Also, thank you to the Momentum Dance Director Amelia Benford and Miller Street Dance Academy Director Jessica O'Keefe. And we have given special thanks to everyone. This is a very, very special thanks to Billy Fox and Jill Fuller. Billy, and Mr. Fox, as his students call him, is at Riverview Elementary. He's a music teacher there. Mayor, he has been supporting and participating in the annual tree lighting event for nearly 20 years now. And we've come a long way over that time in how we do the events. But no matter what time frame we were in, he and his group put on a quality show for the tree lighting event. And if you haven't had the pleasure of watching our tree lighting event yet, for everyone listening, I certainly urge you to do that. If nothing else, to hear Billy Fox and Jill Fuller, who was a TK Elementary music teacher, the duet they sang will bring tears to your eyes. They did a wonderful job and was the most special part of that program. And I can't end it without saying a thank you to Santa Claus. He made his appearance during this event prior to our Christmas parade event. So thank you to Santa Claus. Following up a couple days later from our virtual tree lighting event was our virtual Christmas parade. And we cannot begin without thanking our Grand Marshal for this year, Steve Wormy Caskey.
I never knew that was his first name.
I know.
I've known him all my life.
I know him by Wormy. Wormy, from what I recall, cut my hair, my first haircut. And so that's many, many years ago. But
Did he gap it?
No, he did. What I recall, it's a pretty good job. But I will say, as a Grand Marshal, he truly deserved and to be named our Grand Marshal for 2020. He is a true icon in Fort Mill and has done so much for the town. And we're just very thankful and appreciative that he accepted our invitation to be the Grand Marshal this year. Again, I want to thank the Town Council and their families that was able to participate in the virtual Christmas parade. Town staff, each department head, we required them to join in and wish our citizens Merry Christmas, but I appreciate all of them for that. And then all of the businesses, schools, and civic organizations that sent in their 30-second or less video and participated. Without them, it would not have been a quality event, and we appreciate them for that. And last but not least, again, Santa Claus for his appearance in that Christmas parade, virtual Christmas parade. The next event was our Santa Trolley, and that was a huge event. That was our inaugural attempt at trolleying Santa Claus through Fort Mill, and it was a huge success from our residents. We received bundles of feedback, all positive. If you can find any negative feedback out of it, is our citizens wanted more, wanted the longer drive, or more areas, more time to slow down and spend time. The kids spend time with Santa, and so those are all good challenges to have in an event that way that you put on for the first time. So we were very, very thrilled with that. Again, want to thank Jacana Hester and Stephen Bivens, Officer Stephen Bivens, and for being with us the entire day. It was a seven-hour event, but it was well worth it if you could see the look on the kids' faces. Again, our Chris Sardelli for his portion of that, our town council members and their families that were able to participate. Trudy and I had a good time that afternoon. Lisa warmed it up for us that morning, and then we took over that afternoon. It was a lot of fun hanging out with Santa Claus. And thank you to Sunway Charters of Charlotte for providing us the trolley, and a special thank you to our community for their support. It has been very positive, and we are very appreciative of that. Next event was our handbells in the bandstand provided by our First Baptist Fort Mill Handbell Choir, led by Alice Baker. That happened on the same day as our Santa trolley, and it was a very good event. We received very good feedback from it as well. And also want to say, speak on our Christmas cards in the park. That was our another first for us. We provided plywood for local schools and organizations to create fantastic art. And I had a photo, but I did not provide it tonight. I'll send it to you. Our very own Councilman Shirey did a postcard for the town of Fort Mill, and I will send that to you tomorrow morning. But he did a very good job.
Great job.
It's very beautiful, and we're very appreciative to Councilman Shirey for that. The next one is our Fort Mill Christmas cookie crawl that just took place this past Saturday. The businesses that participated in that was the YMCA at the complex, Chelsea and Savannah, the Market, Fort Mill History Museum, 5-0 Skate Shop, Crossings on Main, the Improper Pig, Loom Co-working Gallery and Event Space, and Norman Photography, Safe Splash and Swim Lab Swim School, and Courtyard by Marriott at Kingsley. We had 50 tins of cookies that citizens signed up for in advance, and they did a cookie crawl through our downtown area and visited these businesses and collected cookies that were prepackaged, and that's how they gained all of the cookies for this event. And so that has been some very positive feedback from them as well. And then last but not least, same day was Story Time with the Queens. Our South Carolina Strawberry Festival queens that read stories on the bandstand were Miss Amy Kim and Miss Christina Bergala. So again, we were very happy and very pleased as a town to provide events to our citizens, to put everyone in the Christmas spirit. And through it all, I will say at least some or all of our town staff that was involved, it certainly put us in the Christmas spirit. So we're very thankful for everyone that took part in this, and appreciative for our citizens. So that was all I have, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
I just would like to be redundant and say thank you to each of these folks on staff that really and truly, we're trying to do things we've never done before, and some of them were so daggum good we're going to do them again, pandemic or not. And I'm really pleased that the spirit of Christmas is indomitable. We can't you can't put that under a rock. We're going to be this way no matter what, and I'm really grateful to be a part of all of the participation and all the groups in our community as a whole. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Trudy, would you like to have anything for the end of our meeting, the end of our year?
I'm just waiting for the 2020 to be over. I'm waiting for 21 to come on.
Lisa?
So yeah, a couple of things. When Jacana and I were talking at the trolley as we were getting ready to ride around with Santa, I told her that one thing that this year has really brought to the surface is the ability for us to be creative. And our town has truly embraced it. Her job is about embracing that and has done a phenomenal job in doing so. But it goes to so many other places within our organization. Parks and Rec, I want to give them a little bit of shout out. My stepson's playing basketball right now, and there has been a good flow in and out between games. They have a great policy. It seems to be working, where you wait for the first teams to come out and then the next teams go in. So there's not a lot of interaction, just enough. Got Ben Shaw out there checking the temperature, making sure everybody,
That's great.
Yeah, he's checking the temperature of the players, make sure that's good. There's plenty of hand sanitizers. There's a lot of people wearing masks. It seems to be working. Creativity works well for Fort Mill. I will say the downtown area, I was able to make it a little creative for our teenagers this Saturday. I did a scavenger hunt around downtown and let the kids go in pairs around. And it was so exciting for them because they really wanted to go see lights, but they wanted to be active. They wanted to, they're stuck inside doing virtual school and all of this. They really enjoyed it. So I encourage our people that are watching, get creative, come up with something new, try something different, make some new memories. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is let's just remember the city of Mount Holly and what all they are going through with the loss of Officer Herndon. It touches home to our community because of Officer Doty, but even more so, the odd part of it is he was a twin too. Both were twins. His birthday was on Saturday. So that town is going through a rough time. They're about the same size as us. My mom actually served on city council in Mount Holly. So there's a lot of things that really tie and hit the heart. But, these people go into work with the idea of they're coming home. He's 25 years old, same age as my oldest son. And we are fortunate that we're in a community that truly does value service, values the relationship. We see it every day with the food that's brought to our officers and our fire department and is shared. I'm surprised they're not 500 pounds each with everything that's constantly being donated. But let's just keep them in our thoughts and prayers as they go through a very difficult time. Thank you for letting me serve another year. 2020 has been a challenging one in many aspects. While I am excited to see what 2021 brings to us, there's been so many blessings this year too. So let's not forget the good while we try to overcome some of the challenges. So thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
Yes, I have something. It kind of goes along with what Lisa said. Get my earplug out of my ear. My neighbor was visiting us the other day, and she come along the front of the house, not on the sidewalk, and I was going around the meeting. She said, "Come here, Larry, look in your bushes." And there were 2 packages from Amazon, and they weren't in a place where they would fall off the porch, and they weren't ours. In fact, they were both to 2 different people in Fort Mill, and I didn't know where those streets were. So it just seemed fishy to me. So I thought I was going to bring them to get a police department. I was walking by the front, and Officer Bivens saw me and walked over the door and said, "What are you doing here?" And I showed him the package. I said, "These things are laying in our shrubbery." And he got those packages, and one of them just had a first name on it. Didn't have like Mary Smith. It just had Mary. And he got them, found out who they belonged to, and got them to him on his own. And it's not often, not unusual for us to get a memo from the chief that some some woman had a flat tire or something, and the police officer stopped and helped her. And we just have a just outstanding, I think, police department, the fire department too, for that matter.
I agree
And it's just something to be thankful for.
completely. Jamie? Jamie?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Davey said and thank all of our staff and everybody that helps keep this great town of ours rolling. I mean, it's been some obstacles this year that nobody has ever thought we'd have to deal with, and I think they've all rose and excelled in the hand that we were dealt. I just hope everybody has a merry and prosperous Christmas and New Year. I'm excited for 2021 to come around. And even though it has been a difficult time, I started thinking about it, and I've gotten to know my neighbors a lot better now that I've been home. I know my wife a lot better. I know my kids a lot better. So even though we haven't had the best of time and the best of the year, I still try to look at the good time of it and just keep that in the back of your head. It could be a lot worse.
No truer words have been spoken. Ronnie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just want to piggyback with what everybody else said, thanking the staff for what they've done this year and looking for a fresh start in 2021.
Well, I'd like to close with two things. One, a very sad passing today of someone that gave so much service to the town of Fort Mill as a volunteer fireman. Tommy Boatwright passed this morning, and he was a great person in my life. His daughter and I have been best friends since before first grade, and I spent much time in their home, and he always treated me like I was his kid. We honored him not too long ago with the Christmas marshal position, and he was so proud to join us and wear that medal. And I think that we are all blessed to know so many of the people that created this wonderful town that we work to protect and preserve. And I want to keep doing that, because if you don't honor the people that came before you, you're not much of a person. Fort Mill didn't get great all on its own. A lot of people did hard work, and Tommy was one of those. So my heartfelt sympathies go out to the Boatwright family. And I'd also like to say, please don't drive too fast on Main Street. You know, we've had a couple of incidents where the cars are bigger than the street was ever designed to accommodate. I do think one of the larger issues we'll face as the new year dawns is some discussions on things we may or may not be able to do to help with the safety of pedestrians and people parking on Main Street. So I look forward to that discussion. And no pun intended, don't take your foot off the gas on being cautious about this virus. Just because the vaccine is coming out, that doesn't mean that we're going to get it and it's a slam dunk anytime soon. We all have each other to think about, and I beg of you to please take all precautions to protect your family, our elderly, our children, our teachers. We have a lot of people that are going to work every day because they serve us, and we really owe them a debt of gratitude to do what we can to protect them. So let's close out this year with the heartfelt thoughts that each of you have expressed about getting to know our neighbors and each other. And I'm really grateful that we live where we do and with whom we do. So thank you all. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Cook to adjourn and a second from Larry. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Merry Christmas, everybody.